Why is it that you're always smiling? That's like the weirdest thing about
You know,
you.
it's because I'm always like delirious and suffering from exhaustion.
Oh, hey, die liefern das Eis. Warum ist das so groß?
Damit es nicht schmilzt. Ist echt interessant, wie die das machen. Da gibt es diese eine Firma in Boston, die...
Ging das schnell mitten in die Fresse.
A million ways to die in the West.
5 minutes, okay. 1, 2, 3, go. All right, of course I was very excited just to meet you because it's always like when you meet some of your favorites guys, it's always like, okay, well, how is this gonna turn out? Because of course I'm a huge fan.
Well, it's going well so far.
Yeah, it's going well. Because the thing is like, what I was wondering after I saw this movie, I was like, all right, that's like the typical Seth MacFarlane type of humor that I was expecting. But then again, I understand that a lot of people will be offended, but not as much as you used to because they're kind of used to that you are very provocative. Do you think that you are finally reaching your limit, or is there more to come?
No, I mean, it just depends on the story. It depends. I mean, this movie is a bit more. You know, certainly Ted had some heart to it. This movie has a bit more throughout. It's a bit more of a kind of a classic love story in a lot of ways. But I mean, look, people are going to be offended or not, and the best. You know, it's like honing a stand-up act. The best thing you can do is to put your movie in front of as many test audiences as you can, as many times as you can, and see what gets laughs. And it's really the scientific method. You know, if you do it enough times, and that really offensive joke gets a laugh every time, you know, well, it can't be that offensive. And vice versa. If that joke that you love, you really want it to stay in the movie, and nobody's laughing at all from screening to screening to screening, you know it's got to go. There's no excuse. So you really are, you test it.
But is it solely just like for the purpose of entertaining people? Because it really feels like some of your comments and some of the humor is very deep, and that's why. I mean, I always like feel like, yeah, I get it. I don't know if the others will get it. Is it something that
it's a mix? It's a mix. Yeah. I mean, there are some there's a little bit of religious commentary, very small in this movie, but. You know, there's definitely a lot of commentary on this unbearable lifestyle
yes.
of the time.
The role played by Silverman, for example.
But at the same time, it's you know, it's okay to have a fart joke here and there. I mean, I've said this before. Monty Python was the height of comedic honesty because they were so clearly secure in their own skin as comedians that they could do their jokes about Catholicism. They could do their jokes about they could do their social and political satire, and yet they could turn around and have a fat guy throwing up for 10 minutes, and it was all okay. And it was it's we've gotten since then a lot more uptight about, at least in America, about that kind of stuff. And I think people forget, no, there was a time when this was all fair game.
But what's your pitch? Because I don't understand it. Even like with your shows on the TV networks, most of the time you always like to criticize or just giving like some hints about the one that your employees or the people that you're working for or with, and they still like to work with you. So sometimes I even have the feeling that specifically Fox, they love it that you criticize them, so
Fox.
people talk about them.
Yeah. Well, Fox as a network, that's always been part of their identity. The Fox network has been. They like taking shots at themselves. They think it makes them look hip, and in some ways it does. But you may be talking more about Fox News, and they are connected to the Fox network in ownership only. There's really no relationship between the two, on at least not on my level. I'm sure when you get up to the big boss, you know, sure there is. But the Fox News is. I mean, I'm sure they find us as distasteful as we find them.
And what about like awards? Because you kept on also like saying like, oh, it's great that we have Charlize with us. I mean, after all, she won an Academy Award. And then I remember another interview where Bill Maher started like, I think that's the reason why we are never going to get an Emmy. So what's the value for you when it comes to awards? I mean, on one hand, it's great to have such an actress, but for yourself.
I mean, look, this had this had much less to do with the fact that Charlize. I mean, yeah, Charlize has an Oscar, and that's great, and because Charlize is a brilliant actress. But I don't generally think about that stuff. She's in this movie because she was perfect for it, and because I loved the way she talked about the script, and I feel like she really got it. Didn't matter if she had an Oscar or not, but she does because she's fantastic.
Okay, I know we don't have time. Just one question about like Back to the Future, because obviously everybody talks about you as a fan, all the other actors, as far as I talked to a few of them. But when it comes to yourself, you just outed yourself as a fan of some 80 movies. Is that true? Or
Sure.
How come that this cameo appearance came up into that movie?
Well, I mean, Back to the Future is to me one of the best comedy screenplays ever written, and really put on film. I mean, it was Zemeckis' direction, obviously Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox, Alan Silvestri's music, who just did all the music for Cosmos for us. It really is a flawless comedy, and it endures to this day. And it's interesting for a comedy whose story so depends on something so dated. Mm-hmm. You know, you really have to begin with the idea that 1985 is the present. Which would date a lot of films in a bad way. It really holds up, and it's a classic. It's a classic that you know, if any of us in this business produce one of those types of movies, one Back to the Future at any point in our careers, you know, you can retire and feel good about yourself.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Knowing also that you have been a fan of Alan Silvestri.
Oh yeah.
Jetzt legst du den unter dein Kissen und die Zahnfee tauscht ihn gegen Geld ein. Es gibt keine Zahnfee, Idiot! Jetzt mach die Scheiße von deinem Laken!
Der wilde Westen 1882 ist eine furchtbare Gegend.
Oh, hey, die liefern das Eis. Warum ist das so groß?
Damit es nicht schmilzt. Ist echt interessant, wie die das machen.
Oh, Mann, ging das schnell mitten in die Fresse! Oh!
Es gibt Millionen Arten im Westen zu sterben. Banditen, wilde Tiere, Krankheiten. Kennst du Cholera?
Der schwarze Schiss.
Der schwarze Schiss?
Au, das kam aus meinem Penis raus!
Ich möchte unser neues Gemeindemitglied willkommen heißen.
Willkommen in unserer supergeilen Stadt.
Wie ist dieser Jahrmarkt so?
Jedes Jahr sterben hier ein paar Leute.
Ehrlich?
Jetzt bitte stillhalten.
Stillhalten!
Auf dem Jahrmarkt sterben
Ja,
Leute.
hier sterben Leute.
Irgendjemand in dieser Stadt wird sterben.
Oh, irgendjemand hat gleich richtig verkackt.
Nicht schießen, heute ist Sexabend.
Hör zu, wenn du den in einem Duell besiegst, bist du ein echter Held.
Ich habe noch nie mit einer richtigen Waffe geschossen.
Ich bring dir bei, wie man schießt.
Das ist meine erste Vagina.
Du hast noch nie eine gesehen?
Nein, vielleicht sollten wir das große Ereignis mit dem Stück Torte
Okay,
feiern.
bereit?
Es ist das da, oder?
Oh ja, das ist sie. Sie geht von hier nach dort.
Oh.
So sieht sie außen aus und hinter den Schamlippen.
Okay, ich klapp mal schnell die Bibel zu.
Ich weiß, du bist hier, Stark.
Pass gut auf.
Da kann wohl einer nicht abwarten zu sterben, ha?
Warte. Sekunde, warte. Sieh dir unsere Schatten an. Naja, wir kennen uns zwar kaum, aber hey, wenn's passt, dann passt. Ich klopf dir kurz auf den Hut, bevor ich komme, okay?
Was soll denn?
A million ways to die in the West.